Good Tuesday morning to you, Walrus Nation. You ever been snuck up on? The end of that song, Snuck Up On Me.
It happens, man, when you're on a roll. It's a good song, though.
Sitting here following the Facebook chats that are going on, the Walrus Wonders question of the day has sparked a lot of comments.
Really? What's going on today?
A few fires and a couple of people hurt and some mild things.
Let me guess. People were upset about the fact that it was closing time in Fells Point, and people just weren't ready to grab their coats yet.
No, it wasn't that late. It was way early in the day. The Walrus Wonders question of the day: what will it take for Baltimore, Maryland, to recover? And when will this type of behavior end? Go post your answer to the Walrus Wonders question of the day. We'll be commenting on those throughout the program because there are so many. And, of course, that is going to be a hot topic subject today. Yes, we do have our normal stories planned and entertainment, but you can't avoid and you cannot ignore what is going on in Baltimore because they're not going to stop, I don't believe, until they get an answer. And there's no answer even been promised until the earliest Friday as to how Freddie Gray obtained or was injured so severely. And so
something clearly happened there.
Well, yeah, you don't get a broke neck easily.
Right.
So we'll talk about that. What's next? There's already social media buzz about what was the mall you said they were.
It was Security Square Mall.
Security Square Mall.
And I heard that the mall in Owings Mills, I think, might be being targeted as well.
So don't know what the reality of any of that is.
And to put things into perspective, if you're not listening in the Baltimore area, we are in the Baltimore area, and Tim and I are literally 30 minutes away from where all the action's happening?
Yeah,
that's why it's relevant.
We live in the adjacent county, Harford, to the east of Baltimore City and Baltimore County, but via the interstate, we're 35 miles, 30-minute drive to right downtown to the heart of where everything is happening. Of course, it's all over Baltimore. It started up in the northwest side of Baltimore at Mondawmin Mall. It actually ended up back there again when they started looting the mall. Then the fires broke out last night all over Baltimore City. Baltimore City is a mess, and it's not just because of Freddie Gray. We'll get into this more. It's a very deep and passionate subject for many.
I think I know another cause of it. Nepal had that earthquake. They did damage. They were getting all the media and attention. And you know what? The people of Baltimore said, fuck that, Nepal. We'll go ahead and show you how to do some real damage.
And we don't need Mother Nature to destroy all our stuff. We can do it ourselves.
But you know what? Nepal, being good sports, they decided that they saw what was happening over here, and they set up a GoFundMe campaign for Baltimore. So that was nice of them.
Yes, very nice. The disrespect shown by the individuals participating in the violence and looting that took place yesterday is the same type of disrespect, just shown in a different way. I'm not relating to what the people of Westboro Baptist Church do, because these people were very violent and very destructive, but it's still disrespectful when the Freddie Gray family, when the leaders of your community call for a cease and desist for one day.
When the people at the heart of the situation.
Right.
These are the people at the heart of the situation. They're the ones asking for peace. Let's just put that out there.
Exactly.
Because that's what's happening.
And that's what happened. And yet these people, I understand, they have a axe to grind. They feel they've got a war to fight. And this was the spark that ignited the explosion. But when the family at the heart of this, community leaders as well, support them in this request and convey the same, to take one day to mark the fact that this man is dead, and dead for no good reason.
Criminal record or no.
Right.
Which it's come out that he did have an extensive criminal record, but, you know, did that justify a
so he's been arrested.
Damaged spine?
Yeah, so
no.
did he. So he's been arrested before.
Numerous times from what I understand.
But they have yet to say what he was taken into custody that day for. He just took off running. They just assumed he was doing something and started chasing him.
Which isn't necessarily legal ground to chase anybody.
Yeah, this started off bad and then escalates to a situation where the guy already has a history with the cops. He knows he's already, I think he was currently out on probation.
I think so, yeah.
And so he knows that he's not going to, this isn't going to go well.
Right.
Even if he had a guilty conscience, when they caught him, he had no weapons or no drugs on him. So what, evading arrest because he took off running, but they still haven't made any comments really to that fact of why he was detained. And then when he asked for medical attention, they kind of blow it off.
Well, if you saw that video, he was screaming in pain. One neighbor was taking a video of him. One of them said that the cops had tased him, which that wasn't caught on video, but the one guy was yelling, they tased him. And but that guy was Freddie Gray in the video. He was screaming in pain over and over again. Now, if he was just doing it, like faking it, he probably would have bullshitted some excuse like cut that out something or whatever. But the fact he couldn't even clarify or state what was wrong, then to me that should indicate, okay, something's up. And what you do is you go ahead and detain him, and you are supposed to immediately call for EMTs, emergency medical personnel. That's what you're supposed to do.
I had the opportunity to have a off-the-record conversation with a Baltimore City police officer.
Uh-huh.
And I understand a certain mentality among them because, and I know this to be true, I have many friends that work in law enforcement. And some of them are real close friends. A lot of times, people that are familiar with the system, when they are caught between a rock and a hard place, will start crying medical emergency when there really isn't one.
Right.
They hear it a lot. They cry wolf a lot. Is it the police officer's job to discern at that moment whether this is a legitimate medical emergency, or is it their job to just get them the medical attention they request, let the process run its course? If there really is a medical emergency, you did the right thing, and if there's not, well, you erred on the side of caution. And so being familiar with this individual, now there was some statements made that he asked for an inhaler, which means there has to be some record of him having an asthma condition or some type of respiratory condition. If that's the case and you're dealing with a repetitive individual, somebody that you've had interactions with before, you would think that there would be some kind of police knowledge that this guy does have a asthma condition, a medical condition. So when he asked for the inhaler, okay, he's having another asthma attack. We got to get him his inhaler and get him to an emergency room. That should have triggered something if they were that familiar with this particular individual. That's all skepticism on my part. Or not skepticism, it's just my imagination.
It's a presumption.
Presumption, and it's speculation. That's what I was looking for.
Well, the fact that he was clearly screaming in pain in the video over and over again, I mean, that should be enough to say, okay, something might be wrong here. That if this guy's making more of a fuss than he usually does, then that should be the indication of, okay, let's do something.
And so, this went horribly wrong from the get-go. It is a snapshot of a bigger picture that is systemic throughout this country. And I believe it has played itself out in numerous situations, from Ferguson to North Charleston, South Carolina, to Baltimore City, and numerous other police departments around the country.
Different time periods, 1968.
But the same situation.
Yeah.
There is still a mentality of separation and desperation in certain communities. And when you feel you have exhausted all of your options to be heard, to not only be heard, but to be listened to, and your situation in life understood, not everybody needs the same path to get to success in life, but everybody needs a path. And these people, as communities, are expressing and have been expressing for years what their hurdles and obstacles are in life. And nobody's listening to them. And so out of frustration, after you build so much frustration, you got to let it out somehow. And when you feel you've exercised all your options, your next step is violence. It's the same process a child goes through. An infant, before it starts throwing a temper tantrum, if it's not able to communicate with you that my diaper's dirty, I need a bottle, I just want a hug, whatever,
right,
that kid will break out just squalling, and then you've got to figure out what's wrong with that kid.
I want attention. That's what they're saying. No matter what the situation is,
it's a shame that it has digressed to this level, and that these people feel this desperate and feel that this is the way that they can get the attention they've been trying to get for so long. That's a shame. And you can't fix a problem until you get to the root of it.
What's really striking is that I've seen similar types of situations, not just within the black community and in urban areas, but among all parts of the political spectrum, among all races. I don't know if you remember the guy, Cliven Bundy, who...
The Bundy Ranch folks?
Yeah, who had his cattle taken away because they were grazing on...
federal lands or something.
Yeah, and he hadn't paid grazing fees for like 20-some years,
right.
Which started, they took away this guy's cattle, and it was like an armed insurrection. I mean, I know that area. I traveled through that area once. I performed at a casino in Mesquite. Very nice area out there. But this area, Mesquite, is right next to Bunkerville, which is where all this was going down.
Okay.
And Bunkerville is hardly West Baltimore. I mean, it's a completely different demographic, but it's the same principles apply. And so it's not to go ahead and say that it's just those people and those in that particular neighborhood. That's not really a valid argument, because we've seen instances where it's happened. It's happened all over the country, but varying degrees, different groups of people. So it's something wrong. I know this sounds corny to say, but it's something wrong with society as a whole. I mean, it's a cliche. People say that a lot, but I think it's true.
It is. It's definitely a societal breakdown, and it has come to a head here in Baltimore, and they are asking for help. The National Guard is now involved, the state of Maryland and the Maryland State Police, that Colonel, whatever his name is, Zaslowski or Zalbosky. Or
speaking of which, did you see Hogan's speech when he was calling out the National Guard?
Last night, yes.
Yeah. Is it just me, or did Hogan's hair look a little more grayer than usual?
Oh, good Lord, he's like every other politician. He didn't sign up for this to be in his first 90 days of his term.
Well, he should have sympathy for the rioters and looters, because, aren't they essentially trying to, Hogan was trying to change Maryland, These guys are just trying to change Baltimore.
Yeah, but not in a positive way. I read a little bit between the lines in his speech last night, or his address to the media, when he made it very clear on more than one occasion in his statements that they had the team assembled early Saturday. They already had the paperwork drawn up for the state of emergency. Without coming right out and saying it, we was just sitting around waiting for that crazy bitch to call us. We knew.
I saw that too. That he sort of it was a backhanded.
He said in 60 seconds we had the paperwork done because we were sitting there waiting. We didn't have to be called, but technically they can't go in and take over the mayor's city. They have to ask for help. It has to be requested per protocol, I believe, if I remember my American government classes from way back when. So he was making it very clear, look, she waited a little longer than we wanted her to, but as soon as she asked, we were on it. Because I think he's trying to separate himself, because there was a lot of inquiries of when this all started around 3 o'clock, it rolls around to be 6, and nobody's heard from the mayor, nobody's heard from the governor. The governor was kind of making it clear that my hands were tied until she asked for help. And once she did, she got it immediately. We were waiting for the request, and she never made it until the 11th hour, and it turned out to be a little too late because there was a lot of fire damage done last night. There was reports of one woman being drug out of her car and beaten by the crowd while the rest of the crowd destroyed her vehicle. And the people that were trying to go help that woman were then attacked by the mob.
Right.
They couldn't even get to help her for being beat away so that the other ones could continue to beat her. The buildings and businesses and people that were assaulted, vandalized, and looted yesterday was just amazing to watch. Now, there was one video.
Do you think that's why we didn't hear from Mayor Rawlings Blake and Governor Hogan, because they were sat in front of the TV just like we were going, whoa, look at that there?
I believe they were probably sitting at a table or on a phone somewhere trying to figure out what the hell to do. You don't want to go stand in front of the media and go, yeah, we ain't got a plan yet. So I believe they had to figure out what the hell was going on and get a viable and reasonable response that's not going to make them look any worse than they already do.
There is a double-edged sword to that, though, because I think we saw in Ferguson where I think in one instance the National, I forget if it was the National Guard or it was some instance where it was the local Ferguson and the St. Louis police departments. They had their riot gear on. They had military-style assault vehicles that were riding around the city. Basically, they were riding around tanks like they were dealing with a war zone, which it was pretty close to that in that situation. And in Baltimore last night, that only seemed to agitate the protesters in Ferguson, if I remember correctly. So maybe they were afraid of preempting a situation and then making something worse than it already could have been. Just a theory I have.
Well, and Stephanie Rawlings Blake has been and is continuing to be criticized for some statements she made. I understood her clarification last night and actually agree with it, because I would have put it right out there on Front Street. She had made the politically correct statement that got misinterpreted. She said, look, we had a peaceful protest going on, and we, as a public service entity, being the police department, have a job to provide that public the space for their peaceful protest. It's part of their right as an Americans.
It's in the Constitution.
And so, by giving them that space, they left the door open for somebody to take advantage of that. And that is what happened. So everybody's saying that they want Stephanie Rawlings' job because she said they provided the space and facilitated the vandalism that took place Saturday night and then again yesterday is preposterous.
Right.
She said, look, we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. We go in and try to stop things before they happen, and we're infringing upon people's civil rights. We give people the space to make a peaceful protest, and then an underbelly of society takes advantage of that and uses that window of opportunity to make a violent incident out of it. And that is sad, but that's the loopholes of the law. You're either going to let them go in there and squash it, or you're going to let it start and then deal with it. You're either going to react to it, or you're going to be proactive. And they chose the protocol of reacting to it, and now people are bitching at them. If they'd have went in there proactive with a martial law-like attitude, then everybody would have been criticizing them for that too. It is tough right now to be a politician, especially here in the state of Maryland and specifically Baltimore City.
Or in any urban area.
It's definitely difficult to be a person involved in law enforcement in any shape, form, or fashion. And I don't know if this is just going to stop in Baltimore. You know, emotions are high. No answers have been promised until Friday. That's 3 days away.
Yeah.
These people aren't patient now. They wouldn't respect the request of a mourning family to take 1 day's break. And on the day that a truce was asked for, they were that violent? How violent you think they're going to be today when there was no request for a truce? And they got all the attention they wanted last night. Now what was inspiring to me was how fast the response was to the outcry from religious leaders in that community to come to Shiloh Baptist Church, where Freddie Gray's funeral was held yesterday afternoon. And they got numbers of almost 200 to 300 were the estimates. And kudos to, I'm not much on news reporters and people like that, but I got to give a shout out to one Miss Deborah Weiner from WBAL Channel 11. Yeah. Her portrayal of that religious march or faith march, because there was multiple religions represented there in those pastors and religious leaders. So that faith march yesterday was inspirational, and it was a glimmer of hope that these men are going to step up to the plate and be leaders in their communities and get a grip on this and not leave it to the police and not leave it to the National Guard and not leave it to the feds. We're going to take control of this, and to watch all those men gather together, and as Deborah Weiner you could see her in her brown coat because she was in front of the pack walking with them, but she very distinctively had her phone to her ear. You could pick her out. And so, because all of the leaders were dressed in dark suits, I mean, they were all dressed very nicely, but very dark suits, and she had almost like a camel brown colored jacket on. So she stood
Protest or not, those guys always look like they're going to the prom or something.
Right. Yeah. Well, they lead by example. They dress nice. Yeah. They dress with self-respect, as every human being should. It shouldn't matter the color of your skin. And I think that as we talk about getting to the root of the problem, and this is oversimplifying a lot, but when you are born into a poor family in a poor community, you look for something. You're born to that. You don't know any better, but you're looking for answers and you're not finding them, and your frustration sets in. It all comes down to some self-respect. And I think that is what is missing in a lot of people in those type of situations. They need something to help build their self-respect before you can get any value out of life, you've got to have some value in yourself. And people today of all walks of life struggle with their value. What is my value? What do I have to offer this world? And if you can't find anything positive about yourself, then you're just going to give what you can find within yourself. And the sad part about it is all they find is negativity in their lives. Hope has to come from a positive place. You can't have hope without being a positive person. And without that positive energy, you'll never have hope. And I don't think these people have a lot of positive energy. And I'm not saying I have the answer of how to instill that positive energy or help them obtain that positive energy. But that is it in a nutshell, oversimplified or not. These people need a little positive in their life before they can ever find hope. And without hope, there's no faith. Without faith, there's no motivation. It's, a process.
Well, I'll tell you how crazy it's gotten. I get texts from the Baltimore Orioles and the Baltimore Sun. They were talking about doing maybe changing the start time for tonight's Orioles-White Sox game. They just out and out postponed it. Second day in a row.
They have already postponed tonight's Orioles game.
As per Baltimore Sun. So, there's what better way to go ahead and whip up the attitudes of a bunch of white suburbanites by canceling their ball game.
Yeah.
But let's say the riots do hit Camden Yards during a baseball game.
Well, there ain't nothing going to happen in Inner Harbor today. Did you see all the National Guard lined up around the Inner Harbor and Camden Yards area? There ain't shit going to happen down there. Them folks are standing there cocked and rocked and ready to go.
And the worst part is, given the history of Adam Jones's at-bats, if a brick or a beer bottle comes flying at him, he's just going to swing and miss at it.
He's not going to hit it anyway with the streak he's on. We got some music coming up for you, a little Blood, Sweat, and Tears, followed by some Bob Dylan. This is the Walrus and Friends show, and you're locked in to BikerRadioStation.com. It's the day after the Baltimore riots broke out. They don't want to call them riots. They didn't want to call them riots yesterday, but you can't call them anything but riots now.
The Baltimore kerfuffle.
Yeah, we are not quite 24 hours into this as it started yesterday around the 3:30 hour in the afternoon. We'll see what Tuesday brings. Keep you up to date and continue this discussion about the Freddie Gray death and the riots that followed. This is the Walrus and Friends show. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Good morning, Walrus Nation. You're listening to the Walrus and Friends show. You're locked into BikerRadioStation.com. It's WLIBR, The Ride. And we hope you're enjoying this Tuesday morning with us. I'll be on air with you till 3 o'clock, and LJ had you this morning. Hope you enjoyed his show. I've got a special guest on the phone right now. Let me give you a little background. If you follow my Facebook page and are participating in the Walrus Wonders question of the day, you will see a young man's name there named Mike Yarsh, and his one statement caught my attention. It says, wow, people think these young black kids chose to be born poor and live in Baltimore in them slop holes. I'd throw a rock at the people who've been beating me my whole life too. People can't relate to this because they have not lived it. Now, yes, the last name Yarsh means this young man is related to me. He is my younger cousin. He is the son of my dad's late younger brother, Winnie. You've heard me mention him on this show and talk about my father and my Uncle Winnie and the reputations they left for me and my cousin to follow. Now, Mikey was born and raised or started his young life in one of what is now one of the worst ghetto areas in Harford County. The Edgewood area down there is where Mikey was born, and the actual townhome development they live in is now one of the biggest projects. They don't live there anymore. But my Uncle Winnie was one of those absent fathers, much like these young black men experience. Their mothers were left to fend for themselves, but yet Mike is a white guy, and he is able to empathize with these people, and I got him to call me on the phone for one thing. Michael, it has been way too long since I have talked to you, your mother, or your brother, and that is my responsibility. I was the older one here, and you all were my kin, and I should have stayed in touch, and I apologize for that. But let me share with us your perspective on this. What are you trying to say that these guys, you would be doing the same thing?
Yes, sir. Yeah, nice to talk to you, Tim. It's been a while. But, yeah, I understand why these people in Baltimore are doing what they do. You grow up with nothing, and everybody has no expectations of you but to sell drugs on the street, and really, you all have no choice. These people have nothing, and when you grow up with nothing, who cares what politics are going on when your child is crying and you don't have money for diapers and you don't even have an opportunity to get out from anything because you live in a place like that? I've lived in a place like that, and these kids don't have a prayer in the world, and eventually everybody's going to get tired. We revolted against Britain because we got tired of not having opportunity. And these kids are basically doing the only thing that they know how to do is violence.
And prior to getting you on the phone and discovering your comment there, which has led to this phone conversation, I oversimplified the problem. I think it's pretty well understood. You can't solve a problem until you get to the root of the problem. In an oversimplified statement, knowing how you grew up or predominantly how you grew up in your young life, it's all about some kind of self-respect. When you were told, like your statement, when you're told you're scum and treated like scum all your life, and that's all anybody expects you to be, then that's what you believe you are, and it comes from self-respect. If you've got to find some value in you, what do I offer this universe, and what I have to offer is worth something. There's value to me as an individual. I think these children are raised without any value. They don't see, and without value, you have no hope, and without hope, there is no faith. You don't have faith that you can overcome your circumstances because you have no hope, and you have no hope because you have no self-value or self-respect.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. These kids, they shouldn't be hurting people. I'm against that. I mean, even this time last year, I saved a police officer's life in my yard that was being beaten unmercifully. So, I don't condone anything like that. But these kids just have lack of options altogether. It's not black or white. It's have and have-nots. These people have nothing, and these people that have everything, they can't even relate to what it is to have nothing. Not even I've been to some of them row houses in Baltimore. Some of them don't even have a roof on them. My father used to take me down there. I learned how to drive a stick shift in downtown Baltimore, and I see how these people live, and there would just be a matter of time for me personally, if I had to live like that, before I would break too.
And not to bring up anything too personal, but you know what it's like to overcome those circumstances. I have shared stories about my Uncle Winnie, your father, on my show as examples sometimes. And Winnie had demons that haunted him for a very long time, and they eventually took his life. But when you're told your entire life you are your father's son, and people look at you that way because, those are Winnie's boys. They don't look at you as somebody that has a lot of promise because they've already got a negative perspective of who you are because of your father's reputation. I was 16 years old. I had my driver's license 3 damn weeks. I was on my way to Freddie Gray's High School for my evening football practice. My senior year of high school was about to begin. A Freddie Gray's police officer pulled me out of my car at gunpoint, handcuffed me, and put me in the back of his car and said, "Is your father Walter or Winnie?" I said, "My father's Walter. Why?" He said, he said, "Never mind. That's all I need to know." He runs my driver's license and everything comes back clean.
Wow.
And he gets me out of the car, unhandcuffs me, and verbatim says, "You ain't fucked up yet. But when you do, I'm going to be there to break it off in you just like I am every time your daddy fucks up.
Wow.
And back then you didn't have cell phones. I went to the high school, dropped a quarter in the payphone, called my dad in tears, told him who it was that pulled me over, and he said, go to the house and tell Sheriff I'm going to need bail money. And, of course, he went down there and had it out with one of the cops. Leave my boy alone. My boy ain't me kind of deal, but he's not going to convince them officers of that. And those officers aren't going to believe any different. And so when these kids that are coming up that Mikey is speaking about are generational, habitual criminals, their father was a criminal, their uncles were criminals, their grandfathers were criminals, what else do they know? And when they try to be different, society looks at them different because, well, you come from a bad bunch of people. And so they're probably not given the opportunities. It's not a racial thing.
Yeah, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
It's a class thing. The middle class and upper class and even the lower class there is no middle class. You're either jumping that hurdle and getting into the upper class or you are in the lower class of this American society, and it's not a real pleasant place to be. And to get a white guy's firsthand experience of it, unsolicited, is even better.
I have a question for Mike. Mike, do you still live in the Baltimore area?
No, I live in the country down in Virginia, a little place called Charlotte County. We don't have a stoplight in the whole county. It's really far, southern roots kind of thing. And, we had the same problems down here with stereotypes. And, me, myself, I know people in town council that live in the county, that run the county. And then I know the lowliest people that are in the same problems that these kids are in Baltimore. It's not a city thing. This is a country problem that we have.
Yeah, when you are poor, it doesn't matter whether you're in the hills of Appalachia or you're the inner city ghettos of Baltimore or Chicago or any other major metropolitan city. Your struggle is ultimately the same. You're looking for opportunity to change your situation. And when you are born into poverty and your family, how's your family going to teach you how to get out of poverty when they've been in poverty for generations? You got to figure it out on your own. And the resources for these kids may be available, but are they readily available? How hard do you have to make them work to obtain these resources? Well, you got to, figure out how to get yourself an education, and then we're going to put you so deep in debt to get that education. College students now coming out of school, the ones that even do have the opportunity to go, but their parents can't afford to pay for it, so they finance it, come out owing $100,000 for a bachelor's degree. That's insane. You're indebted the rest of your life. You ain't even got a place to live yet, a car, or a job, and you're $100,000 in debt. Thanks, government.
Maybe you'll be financially secured by the time you're 70.
Yeah, your great-grandkids will be paying off your damn student loans in this situation.
These people are going to school and racking up this debt and then can't even get out and get a job. And these kids on the street are making money selling drugs and doing crime and making twice as much as these other kids going to school. So their role model is the man that's pushing dope on the street that has money and cars, and then they see people going to school that can't get a job at Walmart because they just can't. They just can't get a job.
Yeah, there's not enough jobs for as many people or that are seeking them. And so, Mike, I appreciate you taking the time to share your point of view with us, sir. Please tell your mother and your brother that I would love to hear from them soon. This line you have is the studio line, but everybody in the world has my cell phone number. It's 44. You got a pen? I'll give it to you right here on the air.
Yeah, I got it.
You have my cell phone number?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I have it.
Oh, okay. Well, make sure you get in touch with me soon. I'd love to see you guys and give your mother my best.
I sure will, man.
All right, Mike. Talk to you soon, my friend.
All right. Peace out.
That was an interesting perspective.
Yeah. Like I said, I know Mike's life, man. Him and his older brother Fred, which he was named. My uncle's name was Winifred Albert Yarsh. He went by Winnie. And so they named his son Winifred Albert Yarsh Jr., and he went by Freddie. just to be able to distinguish the two apart. You don't call him Little Winnie. That wouldn't be funny.
But that story that you told me about the cop pulling you out, that just absolutely floored me. Because I mean, you think about you don't think about things like that even happening in Harford County. How many years ago was this?
That was 1984.
Okay, so I mean,
but you got to understand the reputation that my father and my uncle had. My father ran with an outlaw motorcycle club. He had been arrested and violent numerous times. He was a Vietnam vet that came home from Vietnam way crazier than he ever went, and he was pretty crazy before he ever left. It was a very negative effect on his life, and numerous run-ins with the law before he finally went to jail and tried to straighten his life up, separated himself from the motorcycle club, but really never got a grip on his life until he was well into his 40s and met my stepmother, Karen. Now, he's been married for 20 years and is very much under control mentally and what have you. But when your father is that guy, your last name's Yarsh. It's not, in a small town like Havre de Grace, it's pretty hard to hide.
Yeah.
And so when they already anticipate you being a problem, even though you haven't been one yet, not to them. I mean, I was brought home by the cops for the first time when I was 8 years old. Got caught riding my dirt bike on the street on a public road, which is illegal. It was untagged, had no lights. I was 8. I'm just, wow.
Right, what do you know?
Well, I knew it was illegal.
Oh.
I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing it. I wasn't walking. I damn sure wasn't pedaling a bicycle that far. So I jumped on my dirt bike and bang, there I went and made it to my friend's house and spent the day there and was headed home that evening. Apparently, so was that Maryland State Trooper when he passed me and then spun that car around, come got my ass and took me home to my grandfather.
Yeah, the state troopers don't fuck around.
No, but they didn't, arrest me or nothing. He let the air out of my tire and made me push it home, and when I got home, he was standing on the front porch. He was a friend of my grandfather's who worked for the state of Maryland for 44 years. Oh. He knew a few cops.
Right.
And so this one living in our neighborhood happened to know my grandfather. That's why he let the air out of my tire and made me push it home. Of course, at 8 years old, I was bawling I knew I was going to get my ass spanked when I got there. And then when the cop was standing on the porch still, God, this ain't good. And of all things, my father was standing on the porch with the cop, and that was just freaky to me because the only time I've ever seen my father with cops was when they had him in silver bracelets. So, I just knew this wasn't going to go well. Now Dad's allied up with the cops and Pop-Pop.
That's your whole world turned upside down.
Absolutely. My grandfather, my father, and the police all together in the same place because my grandfather was the religious side of me, he was the one that was taking us to church and all that. My mom's dad.
Right.
My dad was the total opposite of that. Here's hell-bent and whiskey-bound kind of lifestyle. And the police, it was Manny, Mo, and Jack of the Pep Boys on that porch for me. I just couldn't comprehend that. It was just, I knew this was the end of my life. I'm 8. Somebody's
versus you, all those entities versus you, the little crumb snatcher.
Yeah, and I'm kind of believing at this point that my safest bet is to go with the cop. Because the look in my father and my grandfather's eyes wasn't real pleasing. I knew they weren't proud at this moment. Let's just put it that way. I think I'd be safer in that jail with you. Please take me with you.
The big guy named Bubba with all the tattoos. He looks a lot less intimidating than you, Dad.
Yeah, right. Definitely. Well, I've known my father. At the time I was 8, he had been in and out of jail already. I know what kind of man he is. I don't know Bubba. He may not be as bad as he looks.
In my house, the roles were reversed. My mother was the one who got really angry when she wanted to discipline me, and my father was he could do it in the most calm manner possible. He was in the special forces during the Vietnam War. He still can't talk about what he did over there because he did all the classified stuff that the U.S. government said we weren't doing, but we actually were. And I mean, he never hit us growing up, never laid a hand on us growing up, but he just had that way about him where when he was disciplining you, it was just the way he did it was intimidating enough. You just do, okay, Dad's getting involved, so let's behave now.
It's time to straighten the hell up. I'm a firm believer that respect and fear go hand in hand. For children, not as adults. You don't earn respect by intimidation as an adult to another adult. But to your children, they need to have a little fear of you. They need to be a little bit afraid of you. They will respect what you say because they are afraid. And I'm not like talking terrified for their life or
that can help, though.
A brutal beating. But I saw my cousin get the belt once, and that was all I needed. He shot. We were allowed to have guns. We had guns. We were taught how to use them and use them properly. We chose to use them to shoot remember how old houses had lightning rods on the top of them?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
My grandparents' old house had a lightning rod on it, but it had a white glass globe on it so that you could see it. It distinguished it.
Yeah.
Because that little silver rod wasn't necessarily visible against certain backgrounds in nature, your house or the tree or whatever. So it had this white glass. Donnie thought it was going to be a good idea. He said, I bet I can hit that from right here. Did. Was excited. Didn't think the process through, that hitting it was going to break it, which was going to piss Pop off, which meant he was going to tell Donnie's father, which meant Donnie going to get his ass whooped. Now, that was our thought. That was what we realized was the potential, because as soon as my grandfather heard it break, and I don't know how the hell he heard it break, but I guess it was summertime, the windows were open, he heard glass. He comes out there, realizes what has happened, looked at us, said, which one of you did it? Donnie just looked at me, and I looked at Donnie. I was like,
No, you.
Donnie said, I ain't ratting on you, but I didn't say it, but we just looked at each other, and I just started crying. Donnie said, I did it. And he said, you was going to make him tell on you, wasn't you? Donnie just kind of stood there. He said, come here a minute, boy. He took him inside, pulled his little pants down, and whooped his ass. Now, my grandfather did it.
Wow.
And I got to see it. I was like, I ain't doing that shit. And then Uncle Bill come to get Donnie. Pop took Uncle Bill in the office and told him what had happened, and I guess apparently had told him that he had busted Donnie's ass. Uncle Bill come back out, and he said, I don't believe it. He looked at Donnie, and Donnie said something, kind of, Pop-Pop's done paddled me. He said, he ain't paddled you hard enough because you've stopped crying. Come here a minute, boy. And then he took Donnie in the office. And damn it, son. I mean, Donnie was squalling. The slaps weren't that loud, but Donnie was squalling. And you could hear his father yelling at him. And he was giving him a walk with Jesus talk while he was still paddling that ass. Donnie got 2 ass whoopings for the same crime. I knew right then I would never get caught doing a damn thing in my life. Unless I could guarantee that I wouldn't get caught, I ain't doing shit. And to this day, my arrest record is spotless. You're listening to the Walrus and Friends show on BikerRadioStation.com. It is the day after the riots began in Baltimore. We're waiting to see what's going to take place today. Tom was following some social media rumors. They weren't substantiated yet, but now you say Security Mall has closed down?
Security Square Mall has closed, according to this reporter for WBAL Radio here in Baltimore.
So whether the threats are valid or not, we still don't know, but people are taking them serious, and how can they not after the events of yesterday? I've got a little music coming up for you. We'll be back with more entertainment and a lot more information. This may not be as fun and happy-go-lucky as our normal show is, but the reality of life is that life ain't always fun and games. There is a serious situation here in Baltimore.
Tim, look who's sitting across the table from you.
Yeah, but take your comedian hat off and put your political hat on for a little bit, and every once in a while, if the comedy
you're no fun.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Not today. It's time to realize the situation. This isn't just a isolated scenario that's playing out in Baltimore. I'm waiting for the reverse domino effect. Think about this while we play a little music, folks. The first incident started back with Michael Brown. This is when this really came to a head. Ferguson started to boil over. Now you have had incidences in numerous situations, in numerous areas, from North Charleston to now in Baltimore. When those little incidences happened, now it's happened, one is exploded. Will they start backing up? Will the people in North Charleston, although they have an officer charged with murder,
who's been fired.
Yeah, and who's been fired, who was a former officer now charged with murder, they're getting some justice. Michael Brown, they had due process, whether they got justice or not, because those officers were not indicted, correct?
Correct.
And so
and there was something shady going on when the prosecutor's office there as well.
Yeah, so there is speculation left to be had in all of these situations. That means the powder keg could still be lit. And now that it is lit in Baltimore and we have the situation here that we are currently dealing with, will it now start to spiral backwards to the cities previously affected by police violence and accusations of it? Could this kick off a minor revolt here in America in certain cities? We'll discuss that possibility when we come back. I've got a little music for you, and we're here with you till the 3 o'clock hour. Welcome to your lunchtime, folks. For those of you that are able to log in and join us 12 noon to 1, thanks for joining the program. Good afternoon, Walrus Nation. This is the Walrus and Friends show, and you're listening to BikerRadioStation.com, WLIBR, The Ride. And we're glad you're spending this Tuesday with us, as today's program's hot topic, of course, is the same hot topic it is everywhere. A little different perspective, and we're not going to be beating you over the head with the same stories. We're going to be trying to discuss this in a form. We've already had my younger cousin, Mike, who I hadn't, that's the first time I spoke to that young man, and I'm 47, probably 35 years. I haven't talked to him since I was 12.
Wow.
And he's, but when his father took off and kind of, everybody realized that when he wasn't going to be around for Teresa and the boys, Teresa went back to her family in Virginia. And that's where they finished growing up and where they reside now. I think Fred actually moved away from there. He may live up in Pennsylvania somewhere. I'm not sure, but I don't.
Fred is
his older brother. It's
okay.
Mike. I've got two cousins, Fred and Mike Yarsh.
Okay.
Fred is the oldest son of my dad's brother, Winnie, and Mike is the youngest. And I think Mike's he's 35. So hell, he is younger than me. So it's been less than 35 years. He was probably 5 or 6 the last time I saw him. So it's been 30 years. Anyway.
Still too long.
Yeah, still way too long for people that are.
Sounds like a great guy, too.
Yeah, I mean, he was raised well. His mother did a good job raising him, and his uncles and grandfathers and stuff, they're good people. So it's still hard to, like I said, beat that last name Yarsh. But then there's another gentleman, Ricky Goad, on the Facebook page, and made a good comment. He said, I'm going to throw my 2 cents in, and all may not agree. People have their control over their own path. You have the power to choose it. And yes, your parents have a huge influence on you, but at some time the circular chain needs to be broken. And once that chain is broken and you make the choice to be better yourself and walk the right path, within the next generation, you and your family will be on top. But you have to take the first step. And as an overall picture, yes, I agree with that, Ricky. That is absolutely correct. But you know the streets of your hometown real well. Let me take you to downtown Italy and drop you off. And now you got to figure, I'm going to give you a destination and you got to figure out how to get there. You're in a foreign place. You don't speak the language. You don't have a map. You're kind of limited. And certain people, you'd be able to drop them off in Italy, in a foreign country in a language that they don't speak, and they may be able to find their way out. But the average human being, the average citizen of these United States, you take them over and drop them off, and they would panic. They would, in fear, just freak the hell out. Think about that as these kids are the same way. They've lived in that way their whole life. To try to live outside of that is totally foreign to them. They don't have a roadmap of how to get out of there. They know there's opportunities out there, but what are they? And how do I get them? How do I find them? Where is the map that'll tell me how to get there? I'll walk the path, but somebody's got to at least point me in the right direction. Give me some place to start. Some inner city kids find that, and you have got councilmen now on the Baltimore City Council that were born and raised right in some of these ghetto areas that persevered and beat the odds. But the fact of the matter is they're not the norm. They are the exception. The kids that can't find their way out are the norm, and those are the ones who need to be shown the path, at least given some direction. Their parents aren't giving it to them, and we know that. Moms and dads are failing horribly. As these leaders of faith step in, I hope that they continue to address the parental root of some of this problem, or at least the parental stem of it. It's not the root of the problem, but it is a stem root of the problem. Parents aren't influencing their kids, and now we were laughing about that video that I shared. Said that moment when you realize your children aren't the people you thought they were. When that mom beating the hell out of that boy.
Oh, my God, yeah, that's just, that doesn't grind you down to reality if you're doing something stupid.
Cussing on him and whooping on him. She tried to rip his mask off. You know, don't hide who your face. Be proud of who you are.
What was your cousin's name who shot that white globe off your grandparents?
Oh, Donnie, yeah.
That's his Donnie moment.
Yeah, that's his Donnie moment. Yeah, I don't know. I think that boy might have got a little worse because Donnie just got his ass beat in front of me. That boy got his ass beat in front of everybody.
In front of CNN.
Yes. The world is knowing that boy got his ass whooped. But I hate to be cynical here, but if she'd have been whooping that ass a little bit more when he was little, she wouldn't have had to been whooping that ass now.
Something tells me she did, just by watching that video and given her personality, something tells me she did a little ass whooping in her day.
Yeah, well, she might have.
No might have about it. I mean, that woman is a pistol.
Yeah.
You don't want to go across her.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want to cross her. But apparently, that boy had no fear of her. Again, fear and respect go hand in hand. You can punish a child to the point where they say you can't hurt me no more than you've already hurt me. A spanking's only effective if you hurt the child's feelings and spirit way more than you hurt their flesh. There is some reality to this. You've got to understand that the point is not to break the flesh. It's to break that spirit, that rebellious spirit, and say, hey, you're better than this, and this isn't how the world works. Your rebellion, animosity, and negativity is only going to breed rebellion, animosity, and negativity. You've got to have a little more self-respect. You got to act better because you are better than this. You're not doing yourself any favors. You're disrespecting yourself, and they don't understand that because they have no self-respect. That's just my point of view. But, Ricky, you're right. They have to choose their own path, but you got to point them in the direction of the correct path. They don't have any idea where the correct path is. That's just my opinion. Of course, now LL James always has to add a little comedic levity to the situation. His comment on, remember, the question of the day was, what will it take for Baltimore, Maryland to recover, and when will this type of behavior end? His answer for what it will take to recover was simply, get back down here to it, lots of beer and weed and everybody be happy. I think you're right.
What more do we need?
But before I gave him the alcohol, I'd give him the weed first. Mellow him out. then give them the alcohol. You give them the alcohol first, they may not take part in the weed, and they're already angry. We don't need a bunch of angry drunks on our hands down here now. Oh, right. Make sure, LJ, you put that in there correctly. Disperse that appropriately. Weed first, then alcohol. Don't reverse. You're listening to the Walrus and Friends show here on BikerRadioStation.com. It is the Tuesday, the day after the riots started in Baltimore. It's not very entertaining, but it at least is very enlightening, and we're going to keep sharing our thoughts and ideas with you, keep you up to date on what is happening as Security Square Mall has closed amidst the threats of the purge starting there today. Whether it's going to happen or not, I guess Baltimore is on guard and standing by. The National Guard is there as well. The Maryland State Police in Baltimore is currently under a state of emergency with a 9 o'clock curfew for anyone under the age of 14. 14 and older, you have to be off the streets by 10 o'clock, and the only two reasons you will be on the streets between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. in Baltimore City will be a medical emergency, or you are on your way to or from work, and you better have documentation to prove it. They're going to make you prove that you have justification to be out there, and they will question you. If they see your car, they are not going to assume that you have a job or a medical emergency. They're going to stop and make sure you have one or the other. So be aware.
Well, luckily they're equipped. They're trained to deal with medical emergencies in case one arises. So the police officials are.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, so they've got to get control of this. So be prepared. It's the status quo for the time being until tempers and the violence calms down, hopefully stops. But I'm not sure. I'm not real hopeful about that. Roy Orbison coming up for you. Sly and the Family Stone following that. We'll be back with more information, more entertainment. This is the Walrus and Friends show, and you're locked into BikerRadioStation.com. Good afternoon, Walrus Nation. You got a little 3-song music break there. I've got a four-legged child here that is having a temper tantrum, and I'm not able to figure out why. We went outside, we've done everything, and he's still sitting here howling at me. So
it's not just sticking to Baltimore today, is it?
No.
It's in the damn studio here in Abingdon.
He's rioting himself. He's unhappy about his living situation. I've offered him the door, and feel free to find another place if you think it's better somewhere else. He won't leave. He just stays here and bitches. Another comment was posted on the Walrus Wonders question of the day by a gentleman named Mark Edwards. Nothing gives anyone the right to destroy the property of someone else or anything else that doesn't belong to them. All of these people committing these crimes have absolutely nothing to do with Freddie Gray on a personal level. They enter just looking for an opportunity to loot and destroy. So if I lose my job and I get angry about it, I have the right to go burn the place down based on this logic. Pants up, don't loot, was his closing statement. Yeah, you're right. Nothing gives anybody that right. You don't have the right to destroy things that belong to other people. Is there a bigger message in the looting and destroying? Is it unrest in society, or is it truly just people are evil and criminal at heart, and they see now's the time to let that portion of me out, so I'm going to let it out? Only time will tell. Is it civil unrest, or is it just criminal activity? You have to, I guess, draw your own conclusions based on the information and your perception of what is true and what isn't.
You know, I was looking through my Twitter feed last night because I was stuck on WBAL for a few hours. I switched over to the national stuff because I like watching Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC, and of course it was pretty much a continuation. It was their whole shows were discussing what was going on with the riots.
I'm sure.
So I'm alternating between WBAL MSNBC in their discussion, and back to WBAO until they finally signed off a little after midnight. Reading my Twitter feed, I imagine if you removed every single Baltimore-related tweet from my Twitter feed, it would just be like one guy posting a picture of some frozen Marie Callender dinner that he heated up. And that would be it.
It was
nothing else is being discussed.
No, it was definitely the hot topic subject of last night for sure, and still today on many national outlets. I mean, it's the burning hot topic, and everybody's going to put their 2 cents in it, as we are.
The world outlets as well, because you have international press coming in and covering all this now.
But rather than us sit here and preach our perspective to you, we're sharing our perspective with you and sharing and want to hear your thoughts. And we've, like I said, we've discussed Ricky. I offered him to call in. He said he was quite busy right now, but was still listening, and he heard my comments towards, yes, you got it right. They got to take their own path, but you got to show them the way out. Not everybody is self-sufficient. Not everybody has reached that level of autonomy that certain people may have reached. You know, you've got a survival skill to you. You rely on yourself and that type of independence. But sad to say, that's not the norm for American people.
Generally, the people who say, "Oh, well, of course we've moved past everything. Of course we're a post-racial society. You know, we've signed the Civil Rights Act. We've elected Obama, so that means everything's fine." They're generally the same people who say that, "Oh, it's just those people in those certain neighborhoods are the problem." So they're often contradicting themselves whenever they come out and say stuff like that.
Yes, they are. And we talked last week about the video, the college student who did the social experiment of portraying himself as a homeless, broke person,
right,
and offering
money,
and the way people responded to him. That right there lets you know that this ain't a racial thing, because it was black people that had some ends. This guy's driving a Mercedes that gets all flipped with this dude. I look like you're me. It's a class perspective. Unfortunately, a lot of African Americans are in Section 8 housing in depressed areas. They're not there because they're black. They're there because they're poor, and they're there because of generational poverty. You don't understand that. We forget our history. We forget that the bottleneck that has happened has never been unclogged since the Emancipation Proclamation, because a lot of slaves ran before. Now, the Emancipation Proclamation, a lot of slave owners, as history tells it, I wasn't there, I don't know the truth, but there were deals made with, slave owners gave their slaves property. They didn't, necessarily gave them their freedom. They just rearranged the working circumstances. All right, now you have your own house and you own that property, and my farm will feed you as payment kind of deal, and you're deeded that property. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They never got no money. They started with a little bit of property and some houses. Others, when they were given freedom, hauled ass to urban areas where it wasn't so hard to live and things were a little easier. You didn't have to plow the dirt and pick cotton and grow crops. But yet they went there, and even though they went to big cities in free states, Maryland was below the Mason-Dixon but was still a free state. You go to Philadelphia, New York, you go to the big cities up north, a huge influx of people in the mid to late 1800s without job opportunities. They're already looked upon because they're either slaves or descendants of former slaves, which means they're not well educated, they're not well adapted to urban living, so they're not desirable as employees. And then right then, you start with a family that's poor and not able to get out of it. And once they get stuck in that pattern, it's generational. And that is where part of the bottleneck has begun. They went African Americans ancestors went to cities after the Emancipation Proclamation. It still is kind of because they're black, though it may not be a racist thing. Their ancestry's opportunities have not afforded them growth and opportunity as it does other folks. And I hate to say that, but I believe that is a real statement.
And to make things a lot more difficult, who came along right after all that started? My Irish ancestors. They decided they were going to go ahead and immigrate to a lot of these same urban centers and compete for, what little jobs were available and what living arrangements they could. And that just adds another dimension to the problem.
It does. It does, but being set free when you're uneducated and not many skills to offer other than farming, because you've been a slave your whole life, and now you go to urban cities, what opportunities do they have there? And so without some type of something to offer, that downward spiral of self-esteem and self-respect, I'm a free man now or a free woman now, but I can't get a job. I can't care for myself. Hell, I was better off as a slave, and slavery sucked. But at some point, that negative concept...
Because you had everything done for you, practically. You had a certain structure
it wasn't
already
done
set
for
for
them.
Well,
They had to earn their keep, but they know if they behaved themselves, they had a roof over their head, food to eat, outside of the malicious slave owners that were brutal and just horrible human beings.
And a lot of people want to tear down that particular society. They say, where did black people get the idea that they could learn to be completely dependent on everyone else? Well, we kind of started it for them.
Yeah, we kind of put that seed in their head when we went over there and captured them up, put them on boats, and brought them over here and made them property, you dumbass. I mean, where do you...
The biggest skill we taught them, how not to trust white people.
Absolutely. Find an American Indian and an African American with real deep knowledge of their ancestry and their slave roots here in America, and let them two commiserate for a while. You want to talk about two sets of individuals that don't trust white people, and for good reason? We've never given them any good reason to trust us. That's why every time I meet black people, my family was either here long before slavery ever started, being my Indian ancestry, or on my dad's side, we didn't get here till 1906. I didn't have nothing to do with that slavery shit. My dad's family got here in 1906. I got the paperwork to prove it. Hell, my dad didn't get here till 1947. He was born in Germany, but his father's family immigrated here in 1906. He joined the military, was in Germany during World War II, met my grandmother there, who was born and raised in Germany, married her and had a child, and then brought my father back. So I wasn't here for none of that crap. You can't blame my ancestors. We are as beat down as you all on one side, and on the other side, we didn't get here yet.
So you got a real fresh perspective. You got a real fresh, interesting white man's perspective there.
Oh, yeah. Because when I tried to do some ancestry research on my Indian ancestry, I got back to the Office of Indian Affairs at Cherokee, North Carolina, on the Indian reservation, and they had two copies of my grandfather's birth certificate. One had him listed as Cherokee. The other one was a duplicate where Cherokee was scratched out and him and his twin brothers were identified as white, and that's the birth certificate that they left the Indian reservation with.
Wow.
Because when my grandfather and his twin brother were born, they were on the lower they were on the lower end kind of 11 children. And so at that point, my grandparents opted to leave the reservation and come to Baltimore, where my great-grandfather got a job with the railroad.
He probably worked with my great-great-grandfather then, because it was about the 1880s. He spent a good portion of time with the B&O Railroad.
This was in 1920. My grandfather was born in 1917. They on the reservation. They left the reservation in 1918 and came to Baltimore. I went back through the censuses on there on Ancestry.com.
Yeah,
and
those are nice to have.
It was informative. I was able to get back to my great-grandparents and track them after they left the reservation in North Carolina, or left the North Carolina area. I think they had already left the reservation. But anyhow, the fact of the matter is I always plead Switzerland. I didn't have anything to do with it. You don't want to be Switzerland, because that means you ran around while everyone else was fighting, stole all the valuable shit out of their pockets, and kept it for 50 years. You don't want to be Switzerland. Sure, I want to be Switzerland. If I got everybody's shit and I got to keep it for 50 years, I don't see the downside of that. Y'all fight amongst yourselves. I'll clean up behind you.
Clean up and cash out.
That's right. I'm done. See ya.
But I was mentioning my great-great-grandfather, he was born in Ireland, came over in like the 1880s or something. Something interesting I found out. There was an interesting little connection. He has the same birth date as me, just 120 years before me. We were both born January 29th, but he and I had the same birth date, which I thought was amazing. But he was born over in Ireland, got married, had a kid, came over, and had some more kids, and picked up a job immediately with the B&O Railroad.
Now, this was your great-great-grandfather?
Yeah.
You look like an old Irish man. You sure you're not your great-grandfather reincarnated?
I was a heavy drinker. I mean, I've made that public on this show.
And you were wise enough to figure it out and stop it. So maybe you're reliving that lesson. You are your great-great-grandfather.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be weird? I mean, if reincarnation...
I'm my own great-great-grandfather. What was that song? I'm my own grandfather?
I'm my own grandpa. I've always said my family's so screwed up, I am my own grandpa. I mean, but that's a lot of families from the South. You're listening to the Walrus and Friends show here on the BikerRadioStation.com. As we discuss the main topic of today's story, of course, is going to be, or today's topic is going to be the riots in Baltimore. But don't forget, there's only a couple of days left in the month of April, and April is Autism Awareness Month, and our friends at House of Ponchos Tattoo and Piercing are doing their part to help send a child to camp by donating 10% of a select group of tattoos set aside for Autism Awareness Month. Or you can also make cash donations if you're not able to get a tattoo between now and the end of the month, but you would like to help send a child to camp. Cash donations of any size are appreciated and accepted. Give them a call at 410-273-6999. That's House of Ponchos Tattoo and Piercing in Abingdon, Maryland at 410-569. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. It's not 56. It's 273. Sorry, 410-273-6999. 410-273-6999. I was about to give you the studio line. Don't call me. I don't have any more information than what I just gave you. You can call House of Ponchos and get all you need.
You don't want to fuck up the you don't want to fuck up the promotional read.
Yeah, right. I got some more music for you. I hope you're enjoying your lunchtime hour here with us on the Walrus and Friends show. Good afternoon, Walrus Nation, as we draw to the end of this lunchtime hour. It's 12:54. We got about 6 more minutes left in your lunchtime hour. I hope you enjoyed your brief visit with us. Don't forget, we're here with you until 3 o'clock each and every day. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors that the Walrus and Friends show airs Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. each and every day. With exception, and this Friday is going to be that exception. I'll be headed to Ocean City, Maryland for the Bikes to the Beach event taking place down there. The Poorhouse on the corner of Baltimore and Wycomico Streets. They're going to have me in. I'll be your party host and MC both Friday and Saturday night, 9 p.m. to close. So if you're in Ocean City, Maryland for Bikes to the Beach, come by, say hi, hang out, and party with BikerRadioStation.com and the Thunder Walrus, as we'll be tearing it up at the Poorhouse in Ocean City, Maryland, on the corner of Baltimore and Wycomico Streets. We'd love to see your face in the place. We got a story out of Alaska I want to share with everybody as we take a little break from the stories developing and the ongoing saga taking place in Baltimore, sometimes you just got to plan a little better. You got to think things through and realize what your opponent's abilities are so that you can try to have superior abilities.
Is this about the Seahawks losing the Super Bowl?
Nah, not so much as it is some poor dumbass who thought a motorhome would make a good getaway vehicle. An Alaska man used a motorhome in a failed attempt to elude arrest by state troopers. Elijah Christian of Wasilla was arrested Friday morning, but not before he smashed the bulky vehicle into several patrol cars. Christian, who is 49, was being sought on a $100,000 warrant on charges of scheming to defraud, 15 counts of theft, and 21 counts of issuing bad checks. Who the hell writes bad checks? Who the hell writes checks anymore? I guess they still do in Alaska. They're like 20 years behind the rest of us, right? That was all according to a state police release. An officer spotted him driving the 2014 motorhome. Well, now we know what he did with all the money he stole. He went and bought this big-ass motor coach.
At least it was reasonably new.
Yeah, and he attempted to make a traffic stop. Christian ignored the trooper's siren and flashing lights and took off at a high speed, troopers said. Other officers joined the chase as Christian headed toward the busy Parks Highway. Troopers attempted to use spike strips to stop the motorhome. As Christian tried turning the motorhome around, troopers said he struck several patrol vehicles. He also hit the spike strips and was stopped outside a home where he was arrested. Christian was charged with felony failure to stop at the direction of a peace officer, misdemeanor reckless driving. How is it a misdemeanor reckless driving and a felony failure to stop? Because when you fail to stop and start running into police cars, you have really no respect for the lives that may or may not have been in those police cars. You should have hit him with felony everything. They did get him with felony criminal mischief. He should have made them all felonies. He remained jailed Sunday at Matsu pretrial facility in Palmer. Online court records indicated he will be represented by the Public Defender Agency, which does not routinely comment on pending criminal cases because they're public defenders. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Well, at least this guy tried to get away. This was in Wasilla?
That's where he's currently at, I believe, Wasilla, Alaska. It was in Alaska. Wasilla was mentioned. I'm assuming that's where it happened at. Either that or he is from Wasilla.
The same town that elected Sarah Palin as their mayor. So that shows you what kind of it's that judgment and then trying to get away in a 2014 motorhome.
Well, that just goes to show you.
Unless you strap it with a jetpack. What, do you strap it with a jetpack or something?
Well, up there you probably got to have a certain type of vehicle. Alaska's not what you would call an easy commute place. The weather up there sucks, and you never know when you're going to get stranded in a snowbank, so you better be driving something that you can live in for a little while.
Commute's not that bad. It's only a 15-minute plane ride.
Yeah, to anywhere. But you might want to pick a little better getaway than your house. And imagine that's a 2014 motorhome. They're not cheap.
Right.
Some of them can run up as millions of dollars depending on what you got, but even a decent one's 140, 150 grand, and he's just using it like a freaking bumper car against police cars. I don't know what the hell $100,000 warrant. He had some issues.
How many? But how fast could that motorhome have gone? And why would they need like an entire? In that small town, I imagine 7 or 8 police cars. That's the entire damn police force just to stop one motorhome. How fast can one of those things go?
Well, I don't know. They said they took off at a high speed, but, in snowy tundra of Alaska, 45's a high speed, isn't it? You don't drive much faster than that. Well, you've been to Alaska. How do they drive up there?
I've never been to Alaska.
Oh.
I haven't.
You said you had a friend or something up there.
Did I?
Wasilla. What was your connection to Wasilla?
Well, I just knew that Sarah Palin was the mayor of Wasilla.
Oh. I thought you had friends or somebody that lived up there. My sister-in-law's taking trips to Alaska. Hell, a lot of our family has taken trips up there. I should probably talk to them, but driving's not easy. They say, running some of the roads up there when you're on the tourist routes. I don't know what life is like in Wasilla because I'm not familiar with Alaska too much.
They have major highways up there like we do, and I think they have pretty high speed limits. But I mean, in most of most of those towns, obviously, they have the lower speed limits. So if you try to get away in one of those areas in a motorhome, it's not going to be that.
I don't see where it's going to be easy to get away in a motorhome, even if you were on the wide open interstates. They still have a max speed. You're not going to get that big-ass thing running more than 80, 90 mile an hour, are you? A police car interceptor motor runs 130. I mean, the chances are you're going to lose with that one. That's why I want to start this criminal school. If you're going to be a criminal, and can you ride around in anything
I
bigger,
keep telling you,
drawing attention to yourself? You know you've already got a $100,000 warrant on you. Why don't you go get and paint signs on each side of that motorhome? Hey, I'm the guy you're looking for right here.
Yeah, but I keep telling you, if people learn how to be better criminals and stop being stupid criminals, what else would we talk about on this show?
Well, if they learn to become better criminals, they'd become politicians. That's what criminal school graduates to, is elected officials.
And that's not gonna that's not gonna divide this audience, is it? Discussing politics?
No, I guarantee you, this bunch will all be pretty much on the same side. You may have a varying point of view or two, but they ain't going to vary too much. Don't forget the Walrus Wonders question of the day is up. Keep following it as we are discussing the answers that you are posting. We're also following stories that are unfolding as Security Square Mall has closed. There was something else you said had closed, wasn't there?
Not yet. No, there was talk about doing something going on at Owings Mills Mall, but that was that hasn't been confirmed yet.
But Security Square Mall has closed, so we'll keep you updated as information becomes available. You're listening to the Walrus and Friends show, and you're locked into BikerRadioStation.com. It's WLIBR, The Ride. Good afternoon, Walrus Nation. You're listening to the Walrus and Friends show here on BikerRadioStation.com. It is WLIBR, The Ride, and we're glad you're here with us for the remainder of the program. We'll be here with you till 3 p.m. today as we discuss the day after the riots started in Baltimore. We are kind of holding our breath and waiting to see what happens yet today, though as the sun came up this morning, there were signs of hope and inspiration. The one community right there on the corner of Pennsylvania Avenue and North Point, I believe it is, or North Avenue, where the CVS burned, whatever the corner that was.
Which CVS? Because there was a couple of them that got attacked.
No, the other one was a Rite Aid. The only CVS that was set on fire, the big fire that was burning at the very beginning. People were out cleaning up the streets, neighbors.
Oh, yeah. I saw a lot of that on television.
Came out in droves, and a lot of people were showing up to volunteer and help with the cleanup and the aftermath of it all. They have some work to do, but it was good to see them out so quickly as the sun rose and the fires were being put out. I don't know what is wrong with this dog. I'm fixing to go lock him in the basement. All he does is, as soon as I start the show, all he does is bark. Then when I stop talking and go to a music break so I can pet on him and love on him, he just be quiet. And as soon as I go back to doing the show, he stops. He starts barking again. So
Dad's got to work here.
Yeah, somebody's, we got to do something. You can't stand there and cater to your every whim all the time. So it's good to see. I know accusations are being, not accusations, but rumors of potential violence today. Security Square Mall is closed down, and I'm sure that they are making moves to that area, as I would only imagine after yesterday unfolded. They're probably monitoring social media quite heavily today.
Yeah, they're gonna be taking that kind of stuff very seriously now. Because of what happened at Mondawmin.
Oh yeah, with yesterday's events.
Which is in the West Baltimore area, and I think how they kind of dropped the ball with regard to not really responding to that in a timely manner, because I think they knew ahead of time that something may have been taking place. They probably knew that ahead of time.
They had to have some type of knowledge. I'm sure they monitor social media. They may not have understood at what level these kids were referring to, a purge, and at what level it would escalate to. And as Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake has said so incriminating to herself, that we have to give them space. They have a right to peaceful assembly. It's when that they stop the peaceful assembly and it becomes violent, you can't anticipate that every assembly is going to turn violent. So you kind of got to wait for them to draw first blood and then react, and that's a tough place for the law enforcement agencies to be in.
Because then if you take a proactive stance and just go after them and they haven't done anything, then that's
then you're violating their civil rights.
And then they don't, but they don't have the right to do this. But then in that sense, they feel like, well, yeah, we do kind of have the right to uprise because you're not letting us do what's constitutionally protected.
It seems like a vicious circle, and it's not going to be an easy solution, and I truly don't believe that it is over yet, that this is going to end peacefully or soon, because these people want answers, and they're not getting them, and the waiting is causing the buildup of anxiety, and they've apparently got to wait until Friday. There is a social media video going around of Ray Lewis, who is very much Ray Lewis in that video, as he speaks to the kids and the people of Baltimore, vowing that too many people have put real blood and real sweat and real tears into trying to make Baltimore a better place, and in 24 hours, you have done your best to ruin that. But he says, not on my watch. Kids, go home. Get out of the streets. And he very much addresses a lot of the issues. Yes, we know there's not been justice. Yes, we know that there's been wrongdoing, that Freddie Gray died wrongfully. But what you are doing is wrong also. And if you get the opportunity to go see it, it's pretty emotional, but he's a very passionate speaker anyway. Ray Lewis has always been a preacher-type person.
If you piss off Ray Lewis, then you're doing something wrong.
But even when he's not pissed off, he is passionate when he talks.
Well, that's my point. I mean, he's passionate enough when you're...
and then when he's just talking, but then when you fire him up or get him on a subject that he is very passionate about, and he's very passionate about kids and about Baltimore, and the two of them together have really stirred him up. So he's got a message. It's just the problem. A lot of people have that message. Are they listening is the question. Are the people they're speaking to listening? And only time will tell. We'll find out as today's events unfold. Right now, things seem to be fairly peaceful. All of the social media outlets and things of that nature seem to be fairly quiet. But I do have a story from yesterday about a Baltimore Sun reporter, Justin Fenton, who was saved from a mob of rioters by a Baltimore business owner armed with a shotgun. According to CNN, Fenton was on the streets of Baltimore and ran toward the location where an officer was reported to be injured by rioters. He said, I ran down and got in the middle of everything. Fenton said he was inside the area of Pennsylvania Avenue and North Avenue where a lot of things were taking place. He was near a check cashing place that had been broken into and was being protected by a group of self-identifying Crips gang members.
Oh, Jesus.
So the Crips are protecting this reporter. But he turned away from them to take a photo, at which point he was approached by a man with a hoodie pulled tight over his face. Fenton says the man was holding a container of mace The man in the hoodie allegedly demanded Fenton's phone and sprayed him in the face and head area with the mace. Fenton took off running and made it to a store where he was protected by a business owner who was guarding his property with a shotgun. Like that guy's mentality towards things. But thank God the dude was there with a shotgun protecting his property, because Lord knows what would have happened to Justin Fenton. Many people were reported pulled out of their cars, and by many I'm saying a couple. One's more than too many.
Yeah.
But there were several instances of that taking place, and Mr. Fenton could have been he was in a bad situation. It could have been very worse. Thank God he's okay. You recover from pepper spray pretty quickly. It'll stop burning. Wash your eyes and face off. You'll be okay. And thank God that's all that happened to you. God bless the reporters and TV personnel, both print ads for the Baltimore Sun and video for the news outlets, the TV stations. But I wouldn't have done Barry Sims' job yesterday for love nor money.
Barry Sims was at Mondawmin, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was downtown first.
For WBAL. That's the NBC affiliate here in Baltimore.
Yeah, but Barry Sims was on there. He was down the street first, and then they made their way to Mondawmin, and then that's when the looting started there. And during one of his commentaries, you hear him break, "We got to go, they're attacking photographers. We got to get out of here." So they had started attacking media people that were videoing because they didn't want to be identified. So Barry and his cameraman came back on air earlier. And, later they came back on air and they were fine. And
yeah, at around midnight, everything looked rather peaceful there. Of course, there was a line of cops around the place. So.
Oh, absolutely.
But you said there was, the Crips were there, because I know there were the three gang members. Or three gangs, rather. It was Crips, Bloods, and what was the other?
The Black Gorilla Family.
The Black Gorilla Family. Yeah, so you had the Black Gorilla Family, Crips, Bloods. They were sitting down with the clergy to go ahead and discuss how to stop.
After the march last night, after the clergy marched down the streets, they actually set up a meeting at Shiloh Baptist Church, and sitting at the same table were representatives from different walks of faith, the Bloods, the Crips, and the Black Gorilla Family, all sitting at the same table in a church, and that church didn't burst into flames.
So that's like going into the Vatican, having, the Pope, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Somali pirates getting together to stop, human trafficking?
Yeah, that's probably the equivalent of it. But when yesterday, I believe all of this was started by some information that the Crips, Bloods, and Black Gorilla Family had formed an allegiance to come together to, quote-unquote, take out law enforcement. And now they're sitting down with leaders of different faiths in the community. And I believe they have a meeting scheduled at that very church again for tonight at 6 o'clock. Now, with the curfew being in place and knowing yesterday that all of the ruckus started with the dismissal of schools around the 3:30 time frame, will that 6 o'clock meeting time be too late?
And are they going to serve cookies? Because if they will, I'm going.
Good luck with that. You let me know how it turns out for you. We'll keep our fingers crossed for you. You're listening to the Walrus and Friends show here on BikerRadioStation.com. We're glad you're locked in with us. It's WLIBR The Ride as we cruise through this Tuesday afternoon. It is April the 28th, 2015, the day after the riots started. We hope you all are safe. We hope that if you have friends or family or loved ones in the Baltimore metropolitan area, we hope that they are safe as well. And to the 15 officers that have been injured during this process, 2 were still hospitalized as of last night, and I haven't heard any more information about the condition of those 2 officers. But our thoughts and prayers are with everyone involved on both sides of this situation, because it's not good for anybody. There is no winner.
Well, the Baltimore police tweeted that none of their officers were injured gravely. So, I mean, they're serious, but not
Yeah, there
really
was some broken
life-threatening.
bones, they stated. One was unconscious, so he apparently got knocked out.
Yeah.
But still, broken bones and unconscious police officers is not what you would call a civil society. And civil unrest is the topic of the day. We'll see how much unrest, if any at all, breaks out as the afternoon goes on. We'll be back with more fun and entertainment here on BikerRadioStation.com. Good afternoon, Walrus Nation. This is the Walrus and Friends show on BikerRadioStation.com, and we're glad you are here with us as we cruise through this Tuesday afternoon. It is the day after the riots started in Baltimore. We'll see what today brings, but the police officers in Baltimore would have way better success if we could get the people in Baltimore to act like Mr. David Durham and be honest right up front. The 40-year-old Florida man was sporting a telling T-shirt when he was arrested Thursday in connection with a series of vehicle burglaries in Naples. You can't make this stuff up, honest to God. The shirt the dude was wearing had a warning label on it that says, "I do dumb things." Now, see if we can get the folks in Baltimore to be that honest. The ones that are going to do dumb stuff, just put a shirt on. Says, "I'm one of the idiots." We'll know who to look for. We'll leave the other people alone, and we'll go after the idiots, and the civil unrest will end quickly because we will have identified the idiots.
Problem is, though, you said that would help the looters in Baltimore that would help them identify to make them honest people.
No, it wouldn't make them honest. They would just be honest in saying, "I'm one of the idiots," so we could just go after them.
I think they're already showing that they're being a little too honest. That's the problem. They're too honest about
They're letting their true colors out.
But that doesn't just apply to lawlessness and breaking the law. I think that kind of like wearing T-shirts like that could be used in any kind of social situation. In fact, there was this one. They have this one T-shirt that I saw that I hope someone will get for me as a Christmas gift one day. It reads, "Sarcastic comment in 3, 2, 1."
There you go.
Speaking of which, Tory Smith came out recently.
Like out of the closet?
One of these. No.
No, you mean he made a post?
He made a post on Twitter while all this stuff was going on. "I don't know how I can help, but I promise I'll try to help the city." That's big talk for someone who's fucked off to San Francisco.
Yeah, well, you can't blame the man for going after the money. The Ravens didn't want to pay him what San Francisco was willing to pay him, and he's probably glad he's moved now.
As promised, though, sarcastic comment.
Absolutely. Ray Lewis comments, though, are still trending fairly heavily. Ray is still a very public figure here in Baltimore. The guy wearing the shirt in Florida, though, I mean, if you're going to burglarize, you want to wear something pretty nondescript. He had on blue jeans and a T-shirt. No, not one that, hey, you can identify this fool. He's got a warning label on him. It says, "I do dumb things." I mean, not everybody on the planet's running around with that shirt, but it does seem to be kind of a catchy trend with criminals. There was a guy in February, Luciano Gutierrez, 66, was wearing the same exact shirt when officials in Bell County, Texas, arrested him on his 9th drunk driving charge. Maybe there is some truth in people's apparel.
What was he was wearing that same shirt?
Wearing the same shirt that says, "Warning, I do dumb things," the day he was arrested for his 9th DUI.
Walmart's got to start selling better shirts. That's all I can say.
I think they're selling perfect shirts. I think they have found their niche market. Everybody seems to like them, and the people that are buying them are definitely the idiots. So let them keep labeling themselves police officers. When you see somebody wearing that shirt, pay a little closer attention to them. They're going to screw up something somewhere along the lines. I promise you. Security Square Mall has closed. We've been checking Twitter feeds from reliable news sources, WBAL and others here in Baltimore. It seems that the Social Security Administration in Woodlawn, the Woodlawn office, has closed as well due to the threats at Security Square Mall.
Yeah, because they're right next to each other.
They're on adjacent property?
Yeah, well, they're right next to where Interstate 70 ends, as in just
at
ends.
695.
At 695 in Baltimore. That's where it ends.
And so other precautions are taking place. There's a lot of speculation and panic going on. Harford County has made it very clear, especially on the Bel Air Police Department's Facebook page, that there are no current threats to anything in Harford County. There may be rumors, but officially authorities are saying they have no credible threats to anything. There's no schools on lockdown in Harford County. There's nothing going on here, as rumors have begun to rise about it spreading out across the state of Maryland. So right now, nothing like that going on in Harford County, Maryland. The only authorities are acknowledging anyway.
The only rioting that could take place at a liquor store in Harford County would be someone arguing with the clerk over the price of a bottle of Jim Beam.
Either that, or if they run out, just don't run out. It's trying times. We're all going to drink our sorrows away. Make sure the liquor stores are stocked well, and stop looting the liquor stores. The rest of us need to drink too, for God's sakes. You're listening.
Any port in the storm.
That's right. Any port in the storm will work. You're listening to BikerRadioStation.com. This is your afternoon program, the Walrus and Friends Show. We broadcast every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And be sure you check out our friends LJ in the morning. They're from 8 till 11. And let your friends know that BikerRadioStation.com is the best damn entertainment on the planet.
LJ showing me some love on Twitter. Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. We share the love here at BikerRadioStation.com. Don't that song just put you in, like, a happy mood?
Oh, yeah. That song makes me so happy I want to run my head into a fucking wall over and over again. I'm not a fan of the Venga Boys, in case you haven't been able to tell by that last statement.
Yeah, well, you don't have to be a fan of the Venga Boys. That's just a cool, like, song. I liked it. Sorry, I'm glad it rained on your parade. I hope I do something else that pisses you off.
Well, that sounds like one of those. To me, the guy who sings, "We like to party, we like to party." That's like that little kid who always has to run up and tell his mom and dad the exact same thing over and fucking over again. Hey, Mom, Dad, guess what? I like to party. I like to party. I like to party. Mom, Dad.
Yeah, but you used to do that quite frankly while you were drinking, didn't you? You didn't have to be a little kid. That just reminds you of you. See, that's what the problem is. It reminds you of yourself, the lesser self, the adult child.
Are you saying that I am, in fact, the greater of between the Venga Boys and myself? I am the greater of the two? Thanks.
No, not so much. I'm saying that song reminds you of the agitating little self you used to be not so many years ago.
Not just me. Every single fucking kid on this planet.
Texas A&M University professor Erwin Horowitz would like to fail his entire class. He thinks none of them deserve to pass or graduate. Close to 36 students in total, but the school is blocking him from doing so. Horowitz announced in emails last week to the university administrators and to his strategic management class that he would no longer teach the course and would fail the entire class because, quote, none of you deserve to pass or graduate to become an Aggie. The professor said the class was being so disruptive that he couldn't last teaching the course for the rest of the semester, and now a department head will take over. Horowitz was quoted as saying, the class was so bad he needed security guards in the room. Sounds like he's at an inner city high school instead of Texas A&M. Since teaching this course, I have caught and seen cheating, been told to chill out, get off or get out of my space, get back and teach, been called a fucking moron to my face, One student cheat by signing in for another. One student not showing up by claiming they did. Listen to many hurtful and untrue rumors about myself and others. Been caught between fights between students. Horowitz wrote this in an email to students published by Inside Higher Ed. Texas A&M Vice President of Academic Affairs Patrick Lucharan told KPRC none of the students have failed the class, though, because the only reason a student would fail because he or she has not performed the expectations for that particular class. The university will, however, investigate Horowitz's allegations about student misbehavior. Well, why aren't they investigating it already? I mean, he should have turned that in a long time ago, shouldn't he?
So, wait a minute. Students calling the teacher a fucking moron, cheating, not showing up to class, signing in someone else who isn't there. I slipped out because I was looking at something else. Were you talking about my classmates at Falston High School? Or is it somewhere else? Okay.
Well, if your classmates are going to Texas A&M, it's possible.
Because that sounds exactly like them.
Horowitz told the Houston Chronicle, "I have nothing left," blaming the school for not enforcing the university's honor code against his allegedly unruly students. "I put my neck on the line for what I thought was the right thing to do, and now it's maybe not." But if he wasn't getting the support from the university and enforcing their honor code, and he made authorities at the university aware of the unruly behavior and cheating going on with his students, I don't understand why they let it get to this point to where the man wants to fail everybody, and now they're starting to investigate. Seems a little late.
One thing they left out, I bet that professor graduated from UT.
Didn't say where he graduated from, but A&M and the University of Texas don't get along very well, do they?
Well, there was a joke by Bill Hicks, a comedian, who said, and this is true, his older sister went to UT. His brother went to Texas.
Now, when you say UT, say University
of Texas.
To me, UT means University of Tennessee.
Ah, gotcha. So University of Texas. And his older brother, went to Texas A&M. He said they were tiresome at the dinner table together, always arguing back, like, gig 'em, hook 'em, gig 'em, hook 'em, gig 'em, fuck 'em, pass the peas. What am I, at a dinner or a pep rally?
Well, sometimes you got to eat, right?
Yeah.
We're creeping up on that 2 o'clock hour. About 63 minutes left in the program. This is the Walrus and Friends show, and you're locked into BikerRadioStation.com. It is the best entertainment on the planet, bar none. Be sure you tell your friends about my man, LJ in the morning. He kicks the day off at 8 a.m. I take over at 11 and carry you through till the 3 o'clock hour. Good afternoon, Walrus Nation. You're listening to BikerRadioStation.com as we've been surfing the interwebs, looking for information and stories about what's going on today, if there's any late breaking news. Though there is a lot of police presence at Security Square Mall, they are stating that the threats aren't credible, but they seem to be taking them as such. I guess you've got to err on the side of caution.
Given what happened yesterday, yeah, you want to.
Absolutely. I found some inspirational quotes that I think if you take them apart and read between the lines as to what they're saying, it's way more effective if you just speak the truth. One we found says, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. That way you never lose. You either succeed at what you're doing or you learn from your mistakes and failure. The reality of that is, hey, you may not always be happy, but at least you're smart.
Damn straight.
People like me that make a lot of mistakes, I should be the smartest man on the damn planet. Apparently I don't learn so easily.
Or you learn the same thing over and over again.
That's true. Each time you open a book and read it, a tree smiles, knowing there is life after death. Congratulations, you're an accomplice to tree murder. That sounds like a joke you would write.
That sounds like I have. That sounds like I'm glad I have my Amazon Kindle.
Yes, absolutely. For those that are lonely, you deserve someone who would jump fences to be with you, not someone who is on the fence about being with you. The reality of that is you need to add more fence-related questions to your online dating profile.
Or get a neighbor like Wilson from Home Improvement.
There you go. He just stands behind the fence and gives you a great deal of advice. Hard work beats talent. That's a good motto to lead by if you're not talented. But the reality of what they are saying is you're going to be a whole lot more tired more often than your talented friends.
I believe that. Just look at the Bravo network.
Absolutely. The next inspirational quote is, never apologize for having high standards. People who want to be in your life will rise to meet them. Or the reality of it is just hope you're happy being alone. And not that many people are going to step up to meet your standards. Who are you to set standards for people? If you can't stop thinking about it, don't stop working for it. Find your passion and chase it. Or the reality behind that statement is your obsession will consume you. I understand that. And last but not least, wise men are not always silent, but they know when to be. Bottom line, shut the fuck up. We're tired of listening to you. Probably the way y'all feel about me right around this time every day. 3 hours of me is usually most anybody can take. This last 60 minutes is probably like pulling teeth for some of my listeners, isn't it?
That's why I've usually fucked off by now.
Yeah, that's why he leaves at 1 o'clock. He gets a 60-minute head start on getting away from me by leaving early at 1. But I've got you held captive today. Your truck's being worked on. So you can't leave until I take you.
Ah, that's true.
I wonder if... I know yesterday I had discussed the fact that Al Sharpton had made comments that he was planning on coming to Baltimore later on in the week here. I wonder if he still plans on showing up.
I think he generally shows up only if he's asked, like if the family asks him to show up. Well,
he was invited. Him and Jesse Jackson were both invited. So they have, and by numerous folks, not only the family, but civil rights people and activists and protesters, the peaceful protesters anyway. Now that things have kind of went sideways, Dad says he lost, one of our listeners, my pop, says he lost sound, but it says Mixler reconnected, so maybe my broadband dropped out or wasn't streaming fast enough, but it says it's reconnected, so hopefully you get it back.
What was that last quote? Something like wise men usually shut up, or their
wise men aren't always silent, but they know when to be.
Or their broadband connection knows when to go.
Yeah, if you don't know when to shut up, the universe will shut you up by just getting your Wi-Fi to shut down.
That'll do it. Does this show record when Mixler, when we lose broadband?
It's records it and saves it to the show reel so that they can rebroadcast it. They're not as of right now. They haven't been putting the show up for you to go listen to at your leisure. There's not a podcast version of it available, and I don't know if that's something that's being worked on or not. But it will definitely something we can throw in the suggestion box, I'm sure.
Well, I know I'm already getting suggestions from people who say, are the past episodes up yet? And I say, oh, no, not really, not yet. And they say, when? I'm like, well, it's a burgeoning station.
Yeah,
they're working on it.
Yeah, regular radio stations don't have podcasts available. They give you excerpts, but most FM stations, you can go to their website. There's not podcasts available of the previously
for
broadcast.
The whole show. Yeah,
yeah, for the whole show. And 4 hours, that's a lot of storage time when you're putting up, a week's worth of shows or even 2 weeks worth of shows. That's why we encourage you to listen live. You're at work, log in, put it up in the background, and check out BikerRadioStation.com as we're growing our list of shows each and every day. Starting today from 3 to 4, it'll be Linda in the DJ. And then starting at from 4 to 7. It will be the ride home with the Phoenix. I was listening to Eric. Eric is listening as well, or I was reading his comment. He said they're working on the podcast situation, being able to post the preview, that you can go in and log in or somehow access previous shows to go back and listen to them. So they're working on that.
Because people are speaking up.
That's right. Well, you got to give them what they want. You know what I'm saying? People want to be able to go back and listen at their leisure. You got to be able to do that for them, and that's something that is being worked out, the technical aspect of it.
They want podcasts of the show, and for the deaf listeners, free hand jobs. What the fuck am I saying?
But if they're deaf listeners, how are they going to know they're entitled to free hand jobs?
They'll figure out pretty quickly.
It's an audio-based...
They'll figure out rather quickly, I think.
You think so? Word seems to spread pretty fast on social media, as we witnessed yesterday with the events breaking out around the 3 o'clock hour yesterday. We're looking for them. And Eric says, no hand jobs. We're not giving it. We'll give you podcasts, but we're not giving out hand jobs. We draw the line there. And I agree. Unless Tom wants to give out the hand jobs, Eric, then we'll be glad to volunteer his services for any deaf listeners that would like to.
I know we live in Maryland, but I receive. I don't give those.
Redeem their coupon for a free hand job from the one and only Mr. Tom Myers.
I know plenty of people along Route 40 that would be happy to help out anybody like that.
You know him personally, do you? Had Thanksgiving with him?
Not Thanksgiving.
Christmas? Easter? Labor Day?
Not on those holidays. What kind of sicko do you think I am?
We're still trying to determine that. The jury is still out.
Boy, it looks strange up here from this moral high ground I'm on. I've never been up this high before.
Yeah, and you probably won't ever be again either.
I'm enjoying it.
This is the Walrus and Friends show, and you're locked into BikerRadioStation.com. It is the best damn entertainment on the planet, bar none. Be sure you check out the new shows beginning today. Again, at 3 to 4, it's Linda and the DJ. Then Ride Home with the Phoenix from 4 to 7. And during that program, they're going to be featuring the greatest hits from the 60s, 70s, and 80s for your ride home. So you can catch that on your phone. If you're not able to get us, go download the Mixlr app. It's Mixlr on your smartphone and your iPhone or Android device. Download Mixlr and then search out BikerRadioStation.com. You'll be able to find us when we're live. Again, there's no podcast available, but you can check out the live shows each and every day with your Mixlr app on iPhone and Android. Got some more music coming up for you. We've got 46 minutes left in the program. We'll be here till the 3 o'clock hour with updates from events unfolding in Baltimore, and still our fun and entertainment as regularly scheduled. It's the Walrus and Friends show. Welcome to the program, everybody. Good afternoon, Walrus Nation. You're listening to the Walrus and Friends show here on BikerRadioStation.com. We're glad you're enjoying the program and hanging out with us. It's a Tuesday afternoon. It is Tuesday, April the 28th, 2015, the day after the riots started in Baltimore. Still unrest and threats floating around. We'll see what happens as the day unfolds. As
the night starts, because all that stuff usually happens after the sun goes down.
Yeah, but it all started yesterday around 3 o'clock when schools were letting out. And
well, they solved that problem. They closed the damn schools today.
Yeah, and you probably needed to, you know. Keep the kids at home, let the parents be in charge of them, and hope that they do what they are supposed to do. Only time will tell. We'll see what happens there. As we cruise through the remainder of the show, if you're a individual that is hiding from the law, much like a lot of people will be doing here in the Baltimore area over the next few days as they analyze all of the available video that was captured during yesterday's riots and violence, especially those at Mondawmin Mall, who were very clearly videotaped and good records kept of all of the looting and who was carrying what out. you probably don't want to do a TV interview. Don't you think?
Well, if you're one of my many comedian friends, then you're probably looking for any kind of PR that you can get.
Well, but if you're hiding from like murder charges, you probably don't want to do a TV interview. Most people accused of a crime don't want publicity, but murder charges didn't stop one Virginia man from giving an interview to a Buffalo, New York news station. Alexander Hill Jr. was arrested last week in Buffalo shortly after appearing on TV thanks to an anonymous tipster who alerted the U.S. Marshal Service. See, Hill faces 4 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of 3 women and a 2-year-old boy in Petersburg, Virginia, back in April of 2014. The bodies of the victims were relatives of an ex-girlfriend of Hill's. So he went and killed her family. They were found inside a burned home on Easter Sunday. Hill was spotted on surveillance video outside a Waffle House in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, 24 hours after the killings, and then he disappeared. On the anniversary of the murders, the U.S. Marshal Service redistributed Hill's photo in an attempt to track him down. An anonymous tip led them to Buffalo, where Hill had been staying under an assumed name at St. Luke's Mission of Mercy, a homeless shelter and soup kitchen. I didn't know anything about him. I'd see him. He'd say hello. You know, we kind of laid low, Amy Betros, one of the mission's founders, told Buffalo news station WGRZ after Hill's arrest. Bafflingly, Hill gave the station an interview in March, as part of a profile of a local pastor who gave homeless people a place to stay in exchange for work renovating a building. So now you've got a murderer holed up in a homeless mission, going under an alias, working for the pastor, doing some renovating in exchange for room and board. In the story, Hill, who appeared in glasses and a hat, said his name was Trent Dales, a carpenter who had lost his job and his home. The minister has given me an opportunity to do some work, keep me out of the elements. So far, it looks like it's going up.
So far?
Yeah, right up until the point somebody identified you as a murderer wanted in Virginia and then tipped off the authorities.
Well, now he is going to get to be on television. He's going to be on probably a future episode of Lockup on MSNBC.
Either that or that TV show, I Almost Got Away With It. The man calling himself Dales willingly appeared in the story at the pastor's suggestion. WGRZ said, but U.S. Marshal Service spokesman Kevin Conley confirmed that Dales was in fact Hill. But before he can stand trial, the government has to prove that Alexander Hill is the suspect they are looking for. Hill is scheduled to appear at an identity hearing in court this Thursday, according to NBC affiliate station WBBT. It is, if his identity is established, Hill will be extradited back to Virginia. You can't be putting your face on television networks because people all over the world see that now with satellite TV and social media.
Not any of the TV appearances I've done.
Because nobody wants to see you.
I can't get recognized.
Go murder a few people, then you'll be recognized everywhere.
Oh, believe me, I've had that urge.
There is a path that you can travel to that fame and notoriety. Couple of quick executions, and man, you're in like Flynn.
That's how all the weird, freaky chicks come after you, too.
Yeah, those kind of stalkers aren't necessarily the upside of being an entertainer or public figure. But then again, everybody needs a little freak in their life. This is the Walrus and Friends show, and I'm giving you enough freak for a lifetime each and every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And don't forget the broadcasting notes for today, starting today at 3 o'clock. It's Linda and the DJ. And then 4 to 7 with your greatest hits of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's Ride Home with Phoenix. Stick around. We've got 31 more minutes left in the program. We hope you're enjoying the Walrus and Friends show. Be sure you tell your friends, tell your neighbors, and hell, we don't even care if you tell your enemies. Just tell somebody The BikerRadioStation.com is the best entertainment on the planet, bar none. Good afternoon. This is the Walrus and Friends show, and you're locked into BikerRadioStation.com. For those of you who want an example on how to be a positive influence and bring awareness to a situation, we travel across the pond. Mr. Jack Woodward. He's the kind of guy that's never going to be told to grow a pair because he wears a pair. Yes, a pair of nuts, yep. The 22-year-old British student just completed Sunday's London Marathon dressed as a giant pair of testicles. It's almost like a SpongeBob SquarePants kind of outfit. It was over his entire torso. His legs sticking out of the bottom of it, and this guy runs a marathon wearing this, while his time of 5 hours and 45 minutes and 6 seconds officially didn't burn up the course. Woodward is a winner just the same. He ran in the goofy getup to raise awareness of testicular cancer after his close friend Rob Harris died at the age of 21 last year, according to Woodward's Just Giving page. Woodward told the Portsmouth News that he wanted to remind young men to examine themselves regularly. Testicular cancer is not an old man's disease. It can affect people of any age. We really want to get this message across and hope by running in the costume that more people will notice the cause and think about the message, he said before the race. The charity page for Woodward, who is participating in a series of events as Mr. Testicles, male cancer awareness campaign mascot. He has set a goal of $7,616. You say that sounds like an odd number. Well, it translates to 5,000 pounds. That's what his goal is, 5,000 British dollars, and had collected 5,775 American dollars as of Monday. So he's only about $2,100 short of his goal, and it looks like from the pictures that were included in the article that he drew plenty of attention to a worthy cause. Well done, Jack. Good kudos to you. Hopefully, as these protests continue here in Baltimore, that people will find a more civil way to bring awareness to their situation and the message that they're trying to convey. This guy did a great job. Could you imagine trying to run a marathon and the dude running next to you is dressed as a pair of nuts?
I just find the idea of marathons absolutely depressing.
Why?
I do. I do. It just shows me how completely not athletic I am.
Well, that's okay. Just because you're not athletic doesn't need to be depressed. I mean, physical fitness is for everybody, whether you're an athlete or not. But to run 26-some miles, what's a marathon?
26.2 miles.
Yeah. Who the hell wants to do that?
They had one where they had the wheelchair division of the Boston Marathon last week.
Yes.
A woman won that in 1 hour and 52 minutes. I found that depressing. I'm not that athletic, and I can use both my legs.
Oh, I know. It's amazing. I wouldn't want to be the guy that actually tried to run the race and got beat by the chick in the wheelchair. Or beat by the guy that was dressed as a nutsack. I've got shorts and a tank top on. This guy's dressed in a full costume and still outruns me. And the fact that he finished it. I mean, it took him 5 hours.
Your phone and laptop just went off simultaneously. Started going on fire after I made that comment.
Well, they both get the same message, so it was probably one statement, unless my texts are going off as well. No, I think it popped. People chatting with me on Facebook, trying to keep up, man. I'm not a multitasker. You got a couple of things going, I'm good, and I get them in a pace, in a rhythm. But then if you try to throw another chainsaw at me to juggle, it usually goes horribly wrong.
You're just Mr. Popular now.
Oh, sure, yeah, I'm world famous. To all, 25 people that listen to this show. As the events continue to unfold in Baltimore, we hope and pray for the safety and well-being of everyone involved. The mourning is still going on, and not like the AM mourning. I'm talking about the grieving mourning for the Gray family as all of this violence and hostility unfolds around Baltimore. We still have a family that has lost a loved one, and his passing will be monumental, not only because he will be forever linked, his death will be forever linked to the riots here in Baltimore, but hopefully in the long term, history will remember the passing of Freddie Gray as the event that brought change not only to Baltimore, but to America, that will bring change across this country in every little poor, depressed area, neighborhood. I don't care if it's the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains or the Section 8 and ghetto housing in some of our urban societies, or urban cities. Change has to happen. I don't know what change that is, but this current status quo isn't working. It's not working for anybody involved. The mayor and police commissioner of Baltimore both have egg on their face. An entire community now has to wake up and realize that their own, the people from right there within their own neighborhoods, have destroyed the life that they've worked so hard to build, and a life that they can't get away from. It's not like they can all just pack up and move. They're there because of their limitations financially and their resources. And so you've got to look at your neighbors now and say, all right, was it your kids that were out here doing this? Was it your kids that were out here doing this? Why did you let your children destroy our neighborhood and our way of life? You know, that CVS was mentioned many times during yesterday's broadcast as the primary retail outlet in that neighborhood. There's no real grocery store close by.
Yeah, it's what's known as a food desert, as in you have to travel so many miles just to get some groceries.
I heard those terms used frequently yesterday, food desert and other resource deserts, hospitals and things of that nature. There's no services there. That's one of the food deserts that were so critically brought to light in the past years, and now the one food outlet and retail outlet you do have, you've made everybody's life very complicated now.
You've made it a barbecue joint.
Yeah, because you lit it up, man, smoked it out. It's now a smokehouse. The smoke that was boiling out of that facility yesterday was amazing, and reports this morning from Karen Pringle and Jason Newton, who were on scene at that location this morning during WBAL's Today broadcast, said that it was a complete loss inside, that it was destroyed from top to bottom, as were many businesses that were looted. The fires that took place after I went to bed last night, I think the last one I saw was the very big one. The one that was a rec center or something in East Baltimore.
It was the construction of a community center.
Yes, that's what it was. That one.
Construction, not a community center that had been completed yet.
No, it was a building under construction that was designated to be a community center when it was completed. But they set that off, and then they set off a few more fires. There were like twice as many fires when I woke up this morning as there was when I went to bed last night. Now, last night,
a couple of them are still under investigation. They haven't actually come out and said, okay, this was arson or this was a set fire. I mean, they're saying it's entirely possible that one community center fire could be just some random construction fire, which they do happen.
And too big a coincidence. I think we can. It's fair to speculate that it had something to do with it. Many of the fires have been related and connected to the events of last night. I know that one at the construction site for the community center is still under investigation, and nobody has definitively said that it was a result of the looters and rioters last night. But there was other fires that have been connected to them right there in that neighborhood. that have been linked to them, and so it's the next step is to believe that it is believe that they are linked. They'll find the evidence they need, I'm sure, in due time, and make that connection one way or the other. Either it is linked or it isn't. Doesn't matter. Even without that fire, a great deal of destruction and mayhem and havoc was wreaked last night. We're keeping our fingers crossed for the outcome of this meeting between religious leaders in the community as well as representatives from the Black Guerrilla family, Crips and Bloods. I believe that meeting is scheduled to take place tonight at 6 p.m. at that Shiloh Baptist Church, the precise location where Mr. Freddie Gray's funeral took place yesterday. I don't see a good outcome for Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake here. I believe her political career is over. If she is able to keep her seat as mayor till the end of her term, I can't see her being reelected. And at this point, do you think her political allies will start to cut ties from her? As I believe, even though he's on a different side of the fence, our Republican governor, Larry Hogan, I believe made that first step last night in his when he was saying, look, we were sitting here waiting for her to make the call. Don't blame us for the delay. I reacted when I was given initiative, and without her initiative, I couldn't react. And so as soon as she called and asked for the help, we issued it.
Well, I know that this was read this on Twitter. I think this was from the Associated Press. I may be wrong about that, but Philadelphia's mayor, Michael Nutter, came out and defended Rawlings Blake and her statements and her actions. So
I don't think that there is a perfect way to handle this. You just have to handle it as it comes to you. And there have been a lot of comments on social media about everybody's a Monday morning quarterback per se. This is Tuesday morning after the event of Monday, after the events of Monday. And of course, everybody can look back and say, oh, we should have done this. Well, that's the learning experience. Riots like this have not taken place in the city of Baltimore since 1968.
Right.
I was just born in 1968, and I don't believe Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake is that much older than me, if she's even older than me. She has no life experience on how to deal with riots. Who does? I mean, unless you were a mayor in a city back in the 60s in the South when a lot of riots were taking place, or even had some connection to this city in 1968 when Martin Luther King was executed and the riots broke out. Where is it in your playbook or your protocol book that gives you experience when handling a entire city that is breaking out into unrest? I think she did the best she could with the skill set she had. I don't think anything was done out of malice or lackadaisical approach to the situation. She just did the best she could with the skill set she had and the resources available to her, and now she has taken advantage of all the resources available to her with the state police and National Guard now helping to police and control the unrest in Baltimore.
Late breaking news, courtesy of the Baltimore Sun. Orioles expected to play Tampa Bay Rays at Tropicana Field this weekend, not Camden Yards.
So they're moving the games to Tampa.
Right. Well, the Orioles presumably are going to be the home team in name only. Well,
they've already canceled tonight's game, which was with the Red Sox, correct?
White Sox.
Oh, the White Sox. That's the series that's going on is the White Sox.
Yeah.
They canceled last night. They canceled tonight.
They'll probably cancel tomorrow night because of this story that this is from a source within the Orioles. So this is the Baltimore Sun reporting it. So it's rather reputable.
So they're not even going to try to play the games here in Baltimore. They're going to move them south and let the Orioles be the home team in Tampa Bay. So you Orioles fans in Florida, they got to play a home game away from home. So be sure you make your way over there and show your support for the Baltimore Orioles and the support for the people and citizens of Baltimore that are having to endure this violence and unrest here in their community. It's going to be a very intriguing afternoon. It's going to be a very intriguing evening as the events continue to take place here in Baltimore. Hopefully tonight and this evening will be a much calmer and much more subdued protest. If there are any protests at all, we hope that they do it in a peaceful manner, and we're sending a lot of positive energy to the religious leaders as well as the representatives from the 3 major gang affiliations here in Baltimore who are meeting at 6 o'clock.
Mondays and Tuesdays games were rescheduled as a single admission doubleheader for May 28th. And tomorrow's Orioles-White Sox game will begin at 2:05 p.m. and be closed to the public, it says.
So you got to be what do you mean it's closed to the public?
After consultation, tomorrow's game between the Orioles-White Sox and will be closed to the public. That's just what that says. The Orioles will also play the 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays, scheduled for May 1st through 3rd at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, while serving as the home team. All fans with tickets to the games on April 29th, May 1st, 2nd, or 3rd at Oriole Park may exchange their tickets for any remaining home game this season on a dollar-for-dollar basis. Single admission doubleheader on Thursday, May 28th, beginning at 4:05 p.m. for Mondays and Tuesdays postponed games. All tickets and exchanges must be completed by June 30th, 2015. Complimentary tickets are non-exchangeable. And then it gives their box office information here. So
I imagine when they say that it's closed to the public, you've got to be a season ticket holder or you ain't going to get in there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they figure season ticket holders aren't going to fuck things up too much.
Well, you would hope not, and that gives them less people to worry about. We're going to let the season ticket holders come in, protect them, get them in the stadium, let them enjoy the game, provide them a safe exit, and then and by starting the game at 2:05, hopefully they will get it in before any perceived violence may take place.
Just hope it doesn't go extra innings.
Yeah, right. That'll be one of those 19-inning marathons that last till 9 o'clock at night.
That first game, yeah.
When it started at 2:05, yeah.
Although the morning, the game after they had all that shit go down in Baltimore City, the Orioles wound up beating the Red Sox something like 18-7. 2 nights of postponed games because of all this activity going on. If pattern shows anything, we're going to fucking annihilate them.
Well, hopefully the Orioles themselves will take the city on their back and be inspired to play motivated baseball, give some positive news to share with the citizens of Baltimore that your Orioles are continuing their winning ways and making another run to the American League Eastern Division Championship as they did last year. And hopefully this year being able to achieve that championship and make it to the World Series. Though the O's themselves have had a rough start to the season, a lot of injuries.
They had a rough start last year as well, and they made it to the ALCS.
Yeah, I'd rather see them have difficulty now, get all the kinks worked out, and roll into October with a great head of steam as they did last year. You still feel bad for them with all of the injuries. They were really anticipating having that Matt Wieters back as catcher, although that young man Joseph is doing a great job.
Yeah, he did a good job last year as well.
Mm-hmm. And he's continuing to do that again this year with Wieters going down with the Tommy John injury and having to have Tommy John surgery.
They don't know when he's going to be back.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. He's had a very spotted career with injuries in the past couple of years. Last year he was out the whole season, went out early. This year he never even made it to the regular season out of the Grapefruit League with injuries. So hopefully Buck Showalter can fill the gaps, heal the wounds, and the Orioles will be successful. Tonight's game is postponed. It's rescheduled as a fee doubleheader on, would you say, May 28th?
Thursday, May 28th.
Thursday, May 28th. And then the other games scheduled for this weekend are being moved to the Tampa Stadium as the Orioles will play home team in a foreign stadium. So look forward to that. Hopefully they
out-of-state stadium, because foreign stadium they'd be at Rogers Center.
Well, it's far into them.
Yeah, far into them. But and then tomorrow's game starts at 2:05.
And it is here in Baltimore, but it is closed to the public. Not sure what that means. Can only assume. But you know what happens when you assume.
For those and for the tickets for those games, you can exchange them.
Yes, for the games, the tickets you missed last night and will miss tonight, those can be exchanged, but it has to be done by a date in
June 30th. Yep.
June 30th, 2015. Be sure you get those exchanged and be there to enjoy the baseball game. Maybe not the one you paid to see, but you can. Any home game.
For me, a baseball game is a baseball game. I enjoy it.
Yep, and they're going to exchange them for you on a dollar-for-dollar value to a future home game of the Baltimore Orioles, so be sure you take care of those.
Does this mean if I go ahead and purchase a ticket to one of the games on May 28th, assuming they're not sold out, does that mean I can actually watch 2 whole baseball games, like single admission?
Yeah, that's what single admission doubleheader means. You're going to pay for one game, and you get to see 2 that day. So
I'm probably not coming in that day then.
It'll be a full day of baseball with a doubleheader taking place May 28th to play the games that have been canceled last night as well as tonight. It's about time for us to bid our fond farewell to you, Walrus Nation. We trust that you will continue to pray or meditate, send positive vibes, whatever it is you do, continue to do that and send positive energy and love to the citizens of Baltimore, also to the firefighters, emergency personnel, and police officers, not only from here within the state of Maryland, but all of those who are coming from out of state to assist with this situation, and last but not least, our members of the Maryland National Guard who have stepped up to the plate and are doing their part to support the efforts of Baltimore City Police and the Maryland State Troopers handling this situation.
And lest we forget the family of Freddie Gray, who are not only grieving the loss of their son, but are also trying to make sense of why people are doing what they're doing in their son's name after they repeatedly say, don't do that.
I know a lot of celebrities are speaking their mind and trying to influence people, but action speaks louder than words, and I think that was proven rock solid last night when those clergymen walked down that street arm in arm, and to watch the crowd grow following them as they prayed and chanted as they walked down the street. Congressman Elijah Cummings was right there in the middle of it, as well as the leaders of faith from that community, and they're headed in the right direction. I hope they get enough traction and gain the momentum they need to preempt any more violence in the city tonight. We'll have all the updates and information for you tomorrow here at 11 a.m. with the Walrus and Friends show. Don't forget our friends coming on this afternoon, 3 to 4. As soon as we wrap up here, it's Linda and the DJ. Then from 4 to 7, it's the greatest hits of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's Ride Home with the Phoenix right here on BikerRadioStation.com. Stay safe, my friends. Spend a little time loving yourself. And when you're done doing that, spend a little time loving somebody else.
Wash your hands first.
Yeah, try to wash your hands in between. And we'll be back here with you tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. for another edition of the Walrus and Friends show. Until then, peace, y'all.